How long have we known each other?
We've known each other since 2017. So we're almost close to 10 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're the only person who could tolerate me for 7 years.
Your wife. I feel like your wife could.
She's right on the edge.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
The way I heard about you is one of my friends in college was like, hey, like you have to take this entrepreneurship class. Dr. Gene Poor is incredible. And I literally took this class, and I'm not even exaggerating. The first class, you had a standing ovation for a full lecture, and every single person in that classroom went to shake your hand.
Right.
That blew my mind.
2 weeks later, then they didn't show up.
What's your secret to like commanding a room? Like
Oh.
they keep everybody's attention. And then we'll talk about if someone falls asleep, how do you react?
There's two questions there.
Yeah, there's two.
Yeah, how do you get them? Well,
Yeah.
I think you do things that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
And so I'm full of energy, I'm loud, I'm crazy, I'm demanding. I tell them all the rules of what's going to take place. And one of the rules is you can't sleep in my class. You just can't. I won't let you. First of all, I'll call you out on it, and second of all, I'll probably throw you out if you do it again. I just I do it because the parents want me to. You know.
Yeah.
I've had parents who are breaking the law call me and want to talk to me because they didn't realize that they're not allowed to talk to me when they turn 18 years old. But I'll still talk to them, and they'll just say, you know, do what you're doing because it's different. And so I don't reach them all. I only want one, and I'm usually in front of 150, so I've got size on my side. I'm bound to have one.
Yeah,
right?
You got me.
Yeah,
Like
right. You were easy.
You, like literally, like I felt like you were like a celebrity in Bowling Green, and I'm like, because like that follows up to where I want to go with this. I made a documentary about you called Find a Way. You can see it on YouTube. It's played on PBS, WBGU. Yeah, it made
me look better than I really
No,
am.
that is not true. It was so hard to capture your story because you wear so many hats. But the one thing I'll say about doing this documentary, I remember emailing you and being like, hey, can I do this? And I'm like, there's no way in hell he emails me back. You did, and your email was so like simple. It was just like, "Are you good at this?"
Yeah.
And of course, I wasn't, but I said I was. And I remember I came to your office. We talked for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "All right," and you literally supplied the cameras, and it was awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you describe your experience with that documentary and how the story laid out? Like.
What do I think of it?
Yeah, like
I just watched it before you came over, and I thought, yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was lots of things that you covered, and it's been shown. My dermatologist said to me one day, she said, I woke up hearing your voice, and I went, really? And she said, no, really. I did. She said, you were on the PBS station. They needed Phil, and so they showed it. And from what I hear, they've showed it a number of different times.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, and what better compliment than I get than my dermatologist doing it?
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, right.
Well, the cool thing was in that documentary, the mayor declared Dr. Gene Poor Day in Bowling Green. I got to capture that, but also your 50-year celebration in education. To the amount of people that I met there, where I was like, how do you know all these people? And it was.
Well, I really don't.
Well, you changed so many people's lives. Countless stories.
When people come up to me and they recognize me, my first question is, did I ruin your life? Because I'm afraid that I may have. And because you just don't know by looking out there who you're going to touch. And that's what I really want to do is I want them to know that I was least likely to graduate from high school. I was going to work for my dad. And I didn't know what a university professor was. I literally didn't. And it was two teachers from my high school that saw more in me than I saw in myself. And when my dad fired me, literally, I didn't know what I was going to do. And these two teachers thought that I should go to college. And if I can make it through college, then I want them to know that a lot of kids that go to Bowling Green are first generation college students, just like I was. And they didn't know anything about it. And I didn't know anything about it. And my funniest story about that whole experience is I had to wait for 3 semesters or 3 quarters until I could go to Kent.
Yeah.
And they enrolled me. They did all the paperwork and did all of that for me, which I just thought was incredible. And so when I got there the first day, I was with my mom during the process of signing up for classes and going to your dorm room and doing all of those things that you do. But we had a meeting with the
Okay.
dean of students. I
Okay,
don't even
yeah.
think they have dean of students anymore. But we had to meet with him, just my mom and I. And we walked in and we sat down, and he's looking through my transcript, and I can tell by his body language that he's going, this guy doesn't have a chance, you know? And I'm literally thinking, what's going on? What's going to happen next? And he says, would you leave, pointing to me, the room for a little bit? And I went, oh, yeah. So I left,
Yeah.
and I'm waiting outside for my mom to come out. And a couple of minutes go by, and she finally comes out, and we start walking, and I'm going, what did he say? What did he say? Am I
Yeah.
going to be able to stay?
Yeah.
Or are they going to make me go home?
Yeah.
And she goes, no, he asked me out.
Oh my god. That reminds me of that Forrest Gump scene where he's like, you know what I'm talking about? Where the guy's like, yeah,
I remember Forrest Gump, but I don't remember.
yeah.
that
The guy,
scene.
well, the guy was like, your boy's here, but then like he basically was like, he went out with the mom. And he's like, your mama sure cares about your education, boy. I don't know if you remember that scene,
No, but
but
that
yeah,
was my mom. She
Wow.
didn't go out with him.
yeah,
I would encourage her
Yeah.
to do that. I said
Yeah.
anything to help me get through this process, right? But that notion of somebody who didn't even know what college was, and then to go into the process and then ultimately become part of the process, become a professor, is magical. And I believe in my heart that all of these students need to know, especially the ones that had no experience about the college experience,
yeah,
that they need to know that it's possible.
yeah.
And if I can do it, surely they can do it,
Yeah.
if they want to.
Mhm.
But that passion has to be there.
Can you explain how you basically got into animatronics and starting an animatronic company? Because I don't think
Yeah.
that's a common road that anyone
Yeah,
goes
no.
down
Yeah.
in life. So how did you get there?
Well, I got a lot of chances to go to trade shows. I think I probably have been to them all, I mean, not really, but a lot of them.
Yeah,
And if there's a trade show for everything. And so I'd go to them and I would see these companies spend literally millions of dollars on a booth. And I would watch people walk by as if they were invisible.
yeah,
And I'd always, you have to show people something that they have never seen before. So I'm always talking to the owner of this trade show company. You need to come up with, like, animate that product.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever seen an animated air valve that can talk.
yeah,
People will stop. Crowds draw crowds. One of my rules. You want a crowd, start it.
yeah.
2 people, 4 people, 8 people, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so it took a while, but I encouraged him, let's do that. come on, let me open a division in your company that animates stuff.
Yeah.
And so on an airplane, I had them cornered, and I pull out of the magazines when I used to have magazines in airplanes. On the cover was an animated character, and I went, see, this is where we need to go.
Yeah.
And he finally caved. He went, oh, okay, whatever you want to do. So we started, and we became more and more successful at doing it. And we were animated boxes and animated buildings and animated whiskey bottles and ice cream. And then we started doing characters, and that's how it started. But the trade show industry started to suffer overall during a slow period in our country. And he wasn't doing well. Our division was doing fine, but the company wasn't doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And he took his life.
Yeah.
And his brother was left with it. And I went to his brother and I said, you owe me a lot of money for doing all what we've done. You got behind with me. Let's trade. I'll take the division and we'll call it even. And he goes, sure.
Okay.
And so
yeah.
that's how I got into the animation business. And at the time, I'd already moved it to Bowling Green because I was teaching at the university and consulting for this company. And it was easier for me to just walk across town
Mm-hmm.
than it was to drive to Toledo back and forth. I think the maximum I made was 5 trips in one day. I had a meeting
wow.
in Toledo, teach a class, go to a meeting,
Yeah.
teach a class, have a business, and so moving it to Bowling Green was perfect. And then it just got bigger and bigger, and now it's way. My rule was I would stay in the business as a CEO as long as I could feed all the employees with 2 pizzas. I
Yeah.
use the 2 pizza law. When you have too many employees to feed with 2 pizzas, then somebody else needs to take it over
Yeah.
and
Okay.
grow it. And they have. And
Yeah.
they've done a wonderful job of it.
People want to see something they've never seen before.
Right.
Do you think that applies to everything?
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like everything. Like if you want,
Sure.
you start a grocery store, you start a gas station. I don't like. I'm in a band.
Sure.
Like people.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that differentiation is probably the best attribute you can apply to yourself or anything you're involved with. I mean, be different. If you're not different, then you fall into the world of normal. And normal is boring, and the people within it are boring. And we've already talked about how boring is not a place to be.
Yeah.
You can't be there. So you've got to find a way. And I typically, when I'm working with kids, I go, what is it that you do really good? And I try to dig into them to figure out what is it that they do, and then become great on it and become so great that people can't take their eyes off you.
Yeah.
That element of how I'm so fascinated by people who just spin something in a way that nobody else has probably done. And the best way to do that is to just have, again, a big bandwidth. I've never personally had an original idea in my life. None. And there are people out there that look at me and they would say, he's really creative. And I'm, in my mind, I'm just looking at combining different things,
Yeah.
combine things and put them together in different ways than they've ever been done before. Look at Steve Jobs falls into the same category. The phone's not a unique idea.
Yeah.
He just put things together in a different way. I mean, there were phones out there that had a screen on them,
Yeah.
but nobody thought, Well, it could be a music box, it could be a camera, it could be a video camera, it could be a computer, it could be a phone. Look, there must be, how many apps are there? There must be
Millions.
millions
Yeah.
of apps.
Mm-hmm.
And think of all the things that the phone is. And everybody goes, wow, what a creative idea. Well, it's just a combination of all the things that he was able to pull together from
Yeah.
various disciplines. What if we add this, add this, add this, add this, add this?
Yeah.
And he changed the world.
Well, it brings me to that point, like, as far as originality, you always say this, if you steal from one person, that's theft. But if you steal from a lot of people, that's creativity or
research.
That's research. Yeah, okay. I love
You're
that
close.
line.
Good
Yeah,
enough,
yeah.
though.
Okay.
And that's the way it is. I mean, you steal from one, or that's plagiarism. It's theft. It's not legal. But if you steal from lots of people, I said that once in front of one of the university presidents. They were sitting right there when I was giving a presentation.
Yeah.
And I saw them go, ah! And I'm going, come on.
Yeah.
Really. That's the way it's done.
Yeah.
I mean, with movies, with books, with photography, I mean, it doesn't have to be much. I just saw a YouTube video, and I'm sure that I'm out of sync with this YouTube video. I stumbled into it by heart, but there's a guy that saw a family who had 4 daughters, and he saw the love and the creativity and the passion, and just what a beautiful family. And he took a picture of them, and he thought, what if I take a picture of them every year, standing the same way? And he did. And I think it's like 50 years.
That's amazing.
So you watch them go from being like 18 years old until in their 70s.
That's incredible.
It's just an amazing process, which I find, and I'd seen something similar to that years ago. I saw where a couple had a little baby girl, and their first photograph of the baby was in a bathing suit.
Yeah.
And it was a bathing suit that would fit somebody like a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And so for every year then, they would shoot her
in that bathing suit.
Wow. And so, I mean, those are the clever little things that you can do, to differentiate yourself.
You kind of inspired me. Like, one of my ideas, like, a lot of people were like, oh, how'd you think of that? The idea where I was trying to get the job with the Browns, and I used Cameo, those little videos, to try to get the job. Yeah. Like, all I did was, it was already done before.
Right.
I was like, what if I just asked them to do something a little different and just put it together? Like, it wasn't that original of an idea. Yeah. And it, like, one of the coolest things that I could say I did. Yeah. But, it's all about changing it up just a little bit.
I thought, Dave Letterman, if anybody who sees this hasn't realized what's going on with Letterman right now, which I think is so really creative, is that they're running Dave Letterman 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on a channel. And they're taking his all that rich material of his, and they're just cutting it up and putting it in different ways. Yeah. And like the other night, I saw one where Taylor Swift was on when she was like 14 years old. Yeah. And then like when 16, I don't have the ages right. And you watch her grow up. Yeah. Right in front of you, because she was on Letterman and they just edited it a completely different way.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I'm so surprised that other people haven't done that. Yeah. Where they, well, how many shows have that kind of content? Thousands of hours of content that you're able to play with. And Letterman takes it, or somebody who's producing these pieces, they're having all the writers and all the interns and all the production people sit and talk about their time with David.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And the other night, one of my favorite pieces that Letterman does, another hero. Yeah. If I were younger and he was still on, I would try to find a way
Yeah.
to go backstage to see what he was really like. But what they were responsible for. One of my favorite pieces that he does is where he goes to a Taco Bell and becomes the manager, and
Yeah.
it talks to the people driving through,
Mhm.
and just they ask for tacos, and he goes, "We're out of them."
Didn't you?
I have a stomach ache today. I'm really sick, so
Didn't
so-
you? I don't know if you did it, but didn't you go to a McDonald's and just like
I
work
wanted
there?
to.
Oh, you wanted to, but
I
it
wanted to,
didn't- Okay.
and I had permission to.
Yeah.
And every time I drive through one, which is probably every day,
Yeah.
I think someday before I pass, I'm going to work that. Just for one day.
You got to do it.
I have to.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list. I'm surprised I haven't done it.
It's your bucket list. Okay.
Oh.
You've done a million things. All right. So,
Yeah.
what is left on the bucket list?
What's
Like,
next?
Yeah. What's? I feel like that's your attitude with life. Like, there's never an ending point. It's always like, what is next?
What's next?
And then,
Well,
yeah.
I'd like to do what you're doing to me. I would like to I told my kids I want to do some videos. My oldest son goes, "Who cares?" And, I thought, well, I'll call it that.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's good.
I
Yeah.
thought, I'm going to do a series of
That's-
videos, and I'm going to tag it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Probably nobody except me.
Yeah.
And both of us share. I've threatened and walked away 3 times now. 3 times. But I know you've done it,
Yeah.
is that I want to do stand-up.
I was gonna say.
But I just need to be there one time.
Mhm.
And so far, I was on the list once, and then I just went back twice to watch. Because I'm not sure it's where I want to do it. And I know that's how you get to be it. You have to pay your dues.
Mhm.
But it doesn't seem like the right place to do it, because your audience are other comics trying to be comics.
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
even if you have some really rich material, I don't know how well it would play.
Yes.
And so you've experienced it.
Yeah.
You've tried it.
100. That's 100% of how it is, and depending on what area you're doing it, a lot of times I feel like those comedians are very cynical to like whoever goes up on stage, because I don't want anyone to succeed because
That's
they're driving an Uber
Right.
or something
Right.
for the last 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
so there's like a, I don't know, there's like a negativity.
Yeah.
I would rather do it in front of just a normal person who's
Yeah.
just like out and
Yeah.
wants to watch comedy.
Yeah.
That's I agree, but you could find that. I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
I would love to see you do it. I really
Yeah.
would.
I would be. I have to do it.
Yeah.
At least once.
Yes.
Yeah. And the night that I put myself on the list, the people that were in front of me were so bad that I just couldn't imagine myself
Yeah.
following somebody who does 5 minutes of an orgasm, and I'm going, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. When you see someone bomb, I don't know if you get this way, but it like hurts my soul to watch
Yeah.
that, because you're like, oh, like,
Well, I kind of build my opening around that, is that, the fear of dying up there is real. I mean, you have to, but
Mhm.
I mean, but I bring a whole new level of dying because of my age. I literally could die. I mean, not comedically speaking.
yeah.
I mean, I could just walk up there and it,
Yeah.
that could be part of my act.
Yeah.
Oh, he died.
It's all about seeing something you've never seen before.
That's
You will-
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I
Maybe
think you
someday.
would see the thing like you have is like I've already seen you like own a room.
Yeah.
That
That's
I would say a very small portion of people can do that,
Yeah.
where they can go up on stage and have everyone's attention. Like you already know how
Yeah.
to do. Like you basically have done stand up as a teacher.
right. Yeah, and that's how I looked at it. I always thought that what I did was show business with an agenda. You know,
Yes, yeah.
I want them to know something, but I'm going to be crazy enough to take them in a way that I can grab their attention for 40 minutes. I think everything is rigged.
Me too. Yes, it's all rigged.
It's all rigged.
It's all rigged. If you gotta, I think that's what, that's one piece of life advice that you need to figure out. Because if you don't think it's rigged,
You're
losing.
operating
It's
with
like
false
being,
assumptions.
yeah, you're like at a slot machine and you're
It's
just
rigged.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, there's a book out. In fact, I bought it when Tammy and I went to Europe. We were in Switzerland. I wanted to go to a bookstore, and this was probably one of the best bookstores I've ever been. And they had better American books on creativity and on entrepreneurship than any bookstore I've ever been in. And
Yeah.
they pushed it out front, so you weren't like looking for it. It was all there.
Yeah.
And there was a series of books written by this author, and I've given them all away, or I'm pulling out one for you to walk with it. And the book was Act Like a Lawyer, Don't Be a Lawyer. Okay?
Yeah.
And what it was that the guy that wrote it went out and interviewed 50 or 60 or 100 lawyers. Give me a piece of advice. And a
Yeah.
lot of it is just rigging. Like the first one caught my mind right away. And I
Okay.
went,
Yeah.
treat the client or even the problem with dignity and with fairness. Don't scream at them and yell at them. Don't do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the problem. Don't focus on treat them right.
Yeah.
Because right will get you further than screaming somebody. You know?
Yeah.
Nobody understands margin.
Yeah.
They don't get it. They use the word profit. Has nothing to do with profit. Profit is the money left over after the transaction is done. That's not margin. Margin is what the world lives on. Okay?
Mhm.
Margin is the difference between what something costs to make or buy, okay,
Mhm.
and what you can sell it for. That distance between those 2 points are margin.
Yeah.
Now, what people don't understand is how great margin is. We were in Switzerland, and I was with an ex-client who has now got into the diamond business.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I know that it's 1,000 or more markup. He goes, it's at least 5,000.
Wow.
That's the percentage of markup on diamonds. It is enormous. Tammy and I, when I was teaching the entrepreneurs class, there was a store up in Franklin Park Mall, and we were walking the mall, and I went, there's a jacket there, $4.99. And I said, come with me, I'm going to ask for the manager.
Mhm.
Got the manager, said, I teach entrepreneurship. I said, there's a jacket in your front window for $499.
Yeah.
What's the markup? He goes, all right, cut it in half, $250. Cut it in half again, $125.
Mm-hmm.
Cut it in half again.
Oh. Yeah.
That's how much we paid for that jacket.
Wow.
So when I say it's 50% off,
Yeah.
Wait,
You're
what?
still.
Huge.
Yeah.
huge